Hello everybody, this is like take 7 as I try to do this and get it to come out properly. First announcement, IDRLabs will soon be coming out with a book that is on the function axes. It includes some contributions from myself and from other people who have contributed to their website, or it is based on articles that I've contributed to them. And it's on the function axes. They've been working a very long time on it. It is still not completely certain when it will be coming out, but I do know that it will be or should be relatively soon, because all of the main work on it is finished, all of the proofreading and stuff. I think there just needs to be some finishing touches made on it, and then the finalization with publishing. There will be Kindle editions available, and also you can get hardbound copies if you'd like. But there will be more information on that in the future as it kind of gets finalized. But I wanted to mention that so that it makes it a bit easier for publicity if there's some advertising beforehand, obviously, so I'm trying to do some of that. Second has to do with my Patreon, and for the last 7 takes I've kept on trying to do it off the cuff, and it was not working because I kept on taking forever. And so I've written a script, so I apologize if this is sort of dry and stale or something, but it makes it easier for me to focus when I'm talking. So I'm just going to read this script and add things that add things as I see fit. So I have a hard time with money, not with handling money. I think as far as I can tell, I'm pretty good at that. But with money in itself, I get awkward about money because I need money to live in society. That's how society works, and it's actually a very smart system. And you can get money for doing things that you enjoy doing, which is also pretty nice. The trouble is that I don't do the things that I enjoy doing so that I can get money. Because money it's just like liquidated stuff, and it's like I'm doing the thing that I enjoy doing because it's its own reward. I'm not doing it so that I can go get something else. That seems sort of... And also, it's just weird when people give you money. It just feels like, but I'm doing it for its own reward or to, like, help other people. So, like, I like doing what I do because the reward is people really enjoy the videos, they reply back and how much they enjoyed them, and I feel like they've been enlightened on things and they've been caused to think, and that's really awesome. But then money gets in the way, and it's like, just, anyway. So, it makes sense, right, that my main income through the channel is through the Patreon, right? So it makes sense that people would normally use the Patreon, and they would simply take that money and invest it in order to make what they do through, say, YouTube or whatever better. For instance, Jordan Peterson using the Patreon money to invest in a theater so that he can do the Bible lectures, which is a great idea. And a friend of mine discussed this with me, that he has a frustration with YouTubers that he's interacted with who just use the money to, not for, I guess, the purposes that they laid out through the Patreon. They don't invest in the channel, they're just using it for themselves. Anyway, that made me really worried because, so I started the Patreon at the suggestion of some of my viewers, because it was, I don't know how many of you were around for that, but more or less to make a long story short, I had run out of money at college, and I could either spend, because I was close enough to graduation, it was only going to be, I don't know, I had one more semester, and it's the way things were going with the job market out where I was at school, I probably could have tried to find a job, but I figured Anyway, it was confusing. I was going to try to just monetize the channel and finally monetize videos on the channel and finally start trying to do something with that, because people kept on badgering me about, are you going to monetize it and make money? Because that's why you're doing it, right? And it's like, I don't like money. I need money. I don't like it. I don't want to be naive about it. But anyway, so I needed the money. I was trying to monetize the channel, but some people suggested Patreon, and I'm like, hey, I might as well add that to it. I didn't know anything about Patreon. And it's like, okay, people can patronize you through this website. And so I originally started out offering rewards, but I kind of ran into a similar problem where it's like the reason I'm doing the channel is so that I can spread information out there for free, right? I mean, the only cost being that you have to listen to my voice and you have to distill sometimes my dense way of explaining things, but at least it's out there and you don't have to pay wages for it. And so it seemed counterproductive because the only thing of value that I felt like I could give people as a reward system through the Patreon was stuff that I didn't feel comfortable not putting up for free on my channel. So eventually I was just like, I can't do the rewards anymore. Furthermore, I didn't think people really cared that much about them anyway. And anyway, I've talked about all that. The point was that I got rid of it, and it's literally kind of like a tip jar is really what it is, or a long-standing thing. I shouldn't say that. It's more than a tip jar, because that is how I completed college, is because I could have found, for instance, my parents probably could have easily bailed me out for various reasons, but I didn't want to rely on that, especially when I felt I had an avenue that could possibly work. And so I was determined to, I think it got up to about, and I think you can see it on the Patreon, it was around $200 a month, and that's what I used to pay for my weekly groceries and also other expenses that came up for, and the rest I used to help pay the part of my rent, and then my parents would help cover the rest. But at least I was able to keep some of my self-respect and self-reliance, because I was determined to do that. So anyway, I wanted to set it up under the condition that I wanted to... I don't know if I made it clear enough, and probably I did. I didn't really know how to make it clear enough because I didn't really understand what Patreon was. But I wanted it to be because of the fact that it's like I'm using the money to pay for groceries. And so in that sense, I was investing it into the channel because that way I didn't starve. And that would greatly decrease productivity, or I would be going to get a job that's other than the channel that would take away time from doing videos for the channel. So in that sense, I was certainly investing in the channel. What was I going to say? Right, so I was trying to be open about it, but at the same time, as I'm saying it now, like, even now, it's like I feel awkward about it because it's like, first of all, I didn't really want to talk more about my personal affairs than I felt was necessary. But more than that, I didn't want to guilt people into giving me money, and I felt like that was inevitably what was going to happen if it was basically the Help Michael Pierce Not Starve Fund. Because it's like, I'm not going to starve, I'll be fine, I'll figure things out, but this would be really nice, and if there's people who are willing to give me money, I don't want anybody to ever feel coerced to give me money, and I don't think anybody has. I think I've done everything I can so that people don't feel that way. But I think I get really nervous through the Patreon of anybody who's on there feeling any kind of obligation that, like, somehow I'm going to be irritated with them, or there's any kind of emotional thing from me that they shouldn't stop donating or whatever. There's none of that. I don't want anybody to feel that way. I don't want there to be, there's like no strings attached here. And that's why the only thing I could think of was like, it's like I've laid my hat out on the street. And it's like, totally give me money, but I want this to be of your own I don't want there to be any, really any sense of obligation or any sense. There's nothing from me. And I need to make that clear because otherwise I'm going to feel bad about the whole money thing. Because, so right now what I'm doing with the money is I have graduated from college, so I'm not in that situation right now. I'm living with my parents because that way I don't need to pay rent and I can just put money away directly into a savings account, and that's where the money from my Patreon is going, so that I can save up hopefully for graduate school in the future, or I'm not totally sure how exactly my future is going to unfold, but you know, for certain things that eventually I'll need a fair amount of money for, I'm using it to help save up for that. And I do occasionally pull from it in order to purchase books so that I can continue to educate myself. So that is what I'm using the money for. And if I didn't make that clear enough before, I apologize. The last thing that I want and that I'm paranoid about is for anybody to think that I've somehow cheated them, or, you know, for them to feel anything like that regarding money. That's just like, it makes me shiver and get grossed out and stuff, because I don't like stuff with that. So that's the kind of understanding I want to have between me and my Patreons. Thank you so much for whatever amount you've donated, or even just considering donating. I mean, thank you so much for, you know, you going as, you know, for however long you've done it. You know, just thank you for everybody. And it's been very, very helpful, but I'm hesitating even, like, it's like I often don't even want to thank my patrons, because I feel like that almost gives more of an obligation for them to feel like, oh, he's so nice to me, I guess I'll keep giving him money. And it's like that, I feel like people can then feel like they're being tricked, right? Because it's like, oh, I'm so nice. It's like, just don't worry about that. Just make me feel better. Well, don't do it for me. Okay, anyway, I'm not going to turn off the camera, because then I'll have to do this whole thing over again, and it'll be a whole other take. And I'm sick and tired of doing takes of this. So I think I've covered everything. I just wanted to try to be open, and I was worried if I hadn't been totally open. That's sort of my thought process on the whole thing. Anyway, my eternal gratitude must go out to you for what you guys have done, and do not feel bad for not donating, or for reducing a donation, or for deleting a donation. Do it for as long as you want to. I don't care. Well, I mean, I do care, but not... Like, I care, I'm very thankful you've given me the money, and I don't, like, totally stop giving me money. Like, that's not my business. So that's kind of how that is. And so some of you guys have been unbelievably generous for long periods of time, and I feel so that, okay, so I do have a bit more to talk about, and sorry this is getting really long, is I feel like I haven't been... I struggle with, and maybe I'll need to make another whole video on this sometime as I kind of formulate my thoughts on it, because if there's one thing I've discovered through doing the YouTube channel, it's that I seem to have some anxiety issues in regard to, I struggle because I want to, I want to interact with people, but I feel I've been really bad about checking the messages on my Patreon, and also checking my channel-specific email. I do it, but I've been terrible about doing it because of it's just a weird anxiety. I can't quite get my finger on what the problem is. It's a lot easier answering comments on the comment page, but I think it's like there's this anxiety about meeting new people because I really actually genuinely like people, but I like them more than I feel like I have the capacity to do anything about that will mean anything. And so I get a very all or nothing attitude, and I get overly concerned about how other people are feeling. And if you haven't noticed, I'm constantly trying to make trying to get onto other people's levels to the point that I'm sure it's been annoying to people, because I'm always interrupting my thought process and trying to be polite or whatever. And so some of you have called me out for it, which is nice, I suppose. But so the only reason I'm saying that is because I feel bad for those who have been doing Patreon and have either commented or have sent me messages or emails or something like that, and I haven't responded, or I've forgotten, or I feel like there's a lot of people who I've gotten to know just a little bit, and I've gotten little glimpses into you through messages through the channel, but it's like I just have a really hard time because there's so many, and I have a really hard time upkeeping them. But it's like, if I had my way with the universe, then I would just be like best friends with everybody in a separate lifetime. Like, I would have one lifetime for each person where I could have like a normal, like, one-on-one relationship with the person, but that's not possible. And more than that, I think there's large parts of my unconscious that are highly introverted and are horrified by that idea. You know, of having that, and so it's just the struggle that I have, of feeling like I'm not interacting enough with people who really like my videos, and I want to be a good person who has fans. Anyway, I guess this is all just a self-pity rant, isn't it? Dang it. You can tell I'm deep thinking because I'm not looking at the camera. Anyway, I don't think I have anything else, but I guess I'm just struggling to get ideas out, and it's a self-pity rank. I'm not fishing for compliments, gosh dang it. That's not what I'm doing. I'm not looking for love. I'll shut up now. Anyway, those are my thoughts. Don't forget the book. I'll let you know more about that as it comes out, even though I am so very bad at advertising, as Juan Sandoval can tell you. Well, he won't tell you because he's very nice. I didn't feel like I did a very good job of advertising his book when I first did my video on it. But anyway, I think that's everything. So, okay, yeah, I think we're good. Thanks for everything. Bye.